What's up, kitchen table wizards? What's up, Magic the Gathering deck brewers from all over the world? Today we're going to do something that I really like, and that is take a famous competitive Magic the Gathering deck, put it into my blender, and then turn it into a fun, diverse, budget deck that I can play into my gauntlet. And today we're going to talk about Maverick. So for the intro of the deck, I'm going to relax here in my couch with you guys and tell you a little bit about what I think is the best fair Magic the Gathering deck out there. The deck doesn't play counter spells, it doesn't play infinite combos, it just plays a bunch of creatures and some spells. Small creatures, but very good small creatures. The first version of the deck originated from around 2011, and it already played this Mother of Ruins, which we call Mom, and also this iconic Knight of the Reliquary. Now in the legacy format, blue decks, they were the norm, with counter spells and a lot of card draw with cards like Brainstorm. But then in 2012, this card, Thalia, Garden of Traben, that's for me the first original HATEBEAR, was printed.
HATEBEAR, that sounds evil. What is it?
Hey Nora! Welcome back. Well, that's a good question. So a HATEBEAR is a small creature in Magic the Gathering that actually makes other strategies more difficult to play. It has a taxation effect on other cards to make them more expensive or just disallow you to play those cards.
Okay, got it.
Now, what I also like about the Maverick deck in Magic the Gathering is it plays a strategy that I really love. And it's a toolbox strategy. So it plays a lot of cards, which makes the deck fun and diverse to play. And in this deck, one card is really important called Green Sun Zenith. It helps you get the right creature for the right situation in your deck.
Seems like the perfect deck for you.
Yeah, that's right, but there is one small problem. That's the price of a legacy deck, around $3,500.
Wow, you can buy a designer handbag for that.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm going to do in this video is to try to make the Maverick deck, but for under $100.
I do have one more question. Which card is called the Maverick?
None of the cards.
So you want me to insert cowboy memes for no reason?
So to keep the flavor, to keep the core essence of this Maverick deck, we need to go a little bit above our usual budget of $50 US. But that's okay, because if you want to build this deck, I think the cards I'm putting in will be a great investment. They will keep their value. You can even put them in a commander deck, so it's going to be okay. So as always, we're going to start with the basic lands. For the basics, I have chosen two land arts that for me have this little bit of a Maverick feel. 6 plains from Dominaria with the art of Mark Poole, and 6 forests of Spears.
It's Brittany, bitch.
From Jumpstart. I've also included 3 more lands that are forests or plains. 2 Canopy Vista and 1 Scattered Groves. Getting forests or plains is important in the deck, and having lands in our graveyard can also help. So I've included 2 Terramorphic Expanses and 1 Crozen Verge. Having some extra creature lands is also pretty useful for the longer games. A Cave of the Frost Dragon is not only a great card, it also has some epic art from Larry Elmore. And Stirring Wildwood can become a 3/4 with reach. Another land that can create a big creature is the Grove of the Guardian. And Dryad Arbor is both a land and a creature. So your creature search spells can also search for this land now. Cryptic Caves is an extra card draw spell, and Ghost Quarters can deal with special lands of your opponent. Now let's have a look what's in our toolbox of creatures. For me, the card that's the most recognizable in a Maverick deck is of course the Knight of the Reliquary. We beginnen eens hier lijnen te trekken op straat. Even wachten dat hij voorbij is. This is a 2/2 that costs 3 mana and gets +1/+1 for each land card in your graveyard. And you can tap it to sacrifice a forest or a plains to get any land and put it directly into the battlefield. Untapped. I play 3 copies of this card. Then some 1-drops. Avacyn's Pilgrim replaces Bird of Paradise as our cheap mana creature. Dryad Militant is an aggressive creature that deals with spells with flashback or graveyard strategies. And the Narnam Renegade is a solid blocker with that touch that's sometimes a 2/3 for 1 mana. Another key card is our mom.
I am your mother!
The Mother of Runes looks like an innocent 1/1, but it can block and give itself protection to hold down the fort, or it protects versus spot removal, and in some cases even can have a creature become unblockable. Elfish Reclaimer is another great 1-drop that is great in this deck. It's often a 3/4 and it also has a similar ability than our Knight of the Reliquary, that is to search lands and put them into play. Lands are important, so I decided to also include another mana generator called Tangled Florahedron, as you can also play it for Tangled Veil, that's a land that you can sack. And for me, the Maverick deck of course also needs to have 1 Thalia in it. Now you can play the regular version, which is within the budget that I've told you. I decided to include a nice one that I have in my collection I want to show you. I really love the portrait art of this legendary 2/1 with First Strike, which gives a headache to control decks. But we have more HATEBEARS in the deck. Hushbringer is a flying life-linking spirit that cancels enter the battlefield or dying triggers.
Hey, settle down. Take it easy. What the scallop? I'm triggered!
And Gadoptique cancels spells with X in their mana cost, as well as non-creature spells with mana cost 4 or greater, meaning this is a great defense card versus a lot of sweepers like Wrath of God and Day of Judgment, and it can be very annoying against big red spell decks. Next up we have the Spirit of the Labyrinth, an aggressive creature that also gives the control player a real headache. Scribe Ranger is another spell a blue player doesn't want to see, as it has protection from blue and you can bounce a forest to your hand to untap a creature, which is great with the Knight of the Reliquary. Another card a control deck doesn't like to see is the Fleece Mane Lion. Giving it hexproof and indestructible with the monstrous ability is really good. And if you're up against a graveyard deck, no problemo, just search for Scavenging Ooze, a 2/2 that exiles cards from your graveyard and gets bigger doing so. Quasali Pride Mage and Knight of the Autumn are your answers for artifacts. And these 2 creatures can help you get stuff back from your graveyard. Ramonap Excavator can have you play your lands over and over, which is great with the Knight of the Reliquary. Or you can loop Cryptic Caves as a card draw engine. And Renegade Rallier can bring back permanents which cost 2 or less with its Revolt ability. And this also includes lands. If you're up against a combo or storm deck, the Archon of Amiria is quite annoying. This Archon disallows a player to play more than 1 spell each turn, and it slows down opponents by having them play their non-basic lands tapped. The Elite Spellbinder is another annoying card, which makes a card in the opponent's hand cost 2 more to play, and it's also a solid flyer. And of course another great recursive card is the Eternal Witness. I included this tattoo art version in my deck. Now I already talked about Green Sun Zenith, that's a really important card in the deck, but it's also an expensive card. So I went looking for a creature that has a little bit of a similar ability. Yisan the Wandering Bard is the creature I'm talking about. With this one you can tap it for 3 mana and you put a verse counter on it. Then you search your library for a creature with mana value equal to the number of verse counters on it. And then you put that card directly into the battlefield. Okay, I agree, it's slower than Green Sun Zenith, it's a creature so it's more vulnerable, but it's a really cool card anyway, so I'm going to include it in the deck. Another card I wanted to include is Yasharn Implacable Earth. It's a solid 4/4 elemental boar, which searches for a basic forest and plains. And players can't gain life or sack creatures to cast spells or activate ability, which is very annoying against those strategies. We have more legendary creatures in the deck. This Shalai Voice of Plenty. This angel gives you and your creatures hexproof, which slows down burn decks, and it can put counters on your creatures in the late game. Another legendary powerhouse in the deck is Titania Protector of Argot. For 5 mana you get a 5/3 that whenever it enters the battlefield you get a land from your graveyard back to the battlefield. And whenever a land is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you get a 5/3 token. Really powerful card that's great in this deck. The last card I wanted to include is this Archon of the Valor's Reach. A 5/6 flying, trampling, vigilancing Archon with a powerful ability. As when it enters the battlefield, you can choose artifact, enchantment, instant sorcery or planeswalker, and your choice can't be played anymore for the rest of the game. Now, the original Maverick deck also played a lot of strong equipments. There was, for example, Sword of Fire and Ice. We also saw Batterskull in many Maverick lists, and of course an all-star Umezawa's Jitte. But I also found a nice budget equipment that works great in this deck. I'm talking about the Behemoth Sledge. It gives +2/+2, lifelink and trample. Ideal on a flying creature or on a big knight of the Reliquary. Some good removal is also important, so a Source to Plowshares is also a must include. Now I only play one Source to Plowshares in my decks. It's a very powerful card, but I like to keep my decks balanced and diverse. So I made a restricted list for my own to put some really powerful cards that are still budget on it. And this gives me the opportunity to play another great removal spell called Winds of Abandon. You can exile a creature you don't control, or for 6 mana you can exile each creature you don't control. And of course we also play a copy of the Green Sun Zenith. This one has 22 targets in the deck, and this also includes our land Dryad Arbor. And you can put them with this Green Sun Zenith directly into play. Eladamri's Call is also a great card to get the specific creature you need. And I want to include this list with a special one, but it's also in a lot of Maverick decks. Living Wish gets you a creature or land from outside the game to your hand. So I included a sideboard of 7 cards for our best of 1 matches as some inspiration for you.
I think I can already guess the first card in your sideboard. It's the Fortnite, right?
Nora is correct, this is indeed an extra way to get a knight. Now we can also use it to get a land, so I also included this Lair of the Hydra in our sideboard. For artifact removal, I think Quasali Pride Mage is a great Maverick card to put in your sideboard. And Sanctifier and Vec is great versus mono red or black reanimate decks. Against big creatures, I like to search for the Interpret hero. Timeless Witness is Eternal Witness her little sister, and she gets back cards from your graveyard. And the last card is this big 6/5 Woodland Bellower, which gets you a green card with converted mana cost 3 or less directly from your deck into the battlefield. You only can't search for legendary cards. So I'm sorry you summoned the Wandering Bard, but this Woodland Bellower will not go searching for you. Now before I end the video, two more things. First of all, shout out to my sponsor CARDMARKET, still the best place to get your Magic singles, to get your Maverick staples in Europe. And if you want to try out CARDMARKET, well, look at the description beneath the video how to contact me, because I have for you a €5 voucher to try out CARDMARKET for free. Now I also want to know from you guys, which would your favorite card be to include in this Maverick deck? And put it in the description below and give the video a like if you like my content. Now as always, keep it casual. I hope to see you in the gauntlet, or until next time, bye!